Let's just jump right in. Who here has ever been in a car accident? Raise your hand. Oh no! So recently, hopefully not, but if it was recent, please come talk to Michaela after this. We're happy to help you. The information in this seminar is intended to be before you need it, because when you're going through the car accident process, it's a lot harder to learn what you needed to do when it happens, right? So obviously we hope that it never happens to you, but unfortunately it's really common. It's really common, and in bigger cities it's more common. In hilly roads it's pretty common. So if you're commuting to the University of Washington, Tacoma, where I went to undergrad, and someone's trying to learn how to drive stick on this hill, they might just roll into you, and then what do, right? So a bit about me. All we do at Brumley Law Firm is car accidents. I served for a long time as a public defender. So I've served in the city of Tacoma, in Pierce County District Court, city of Bonnie Lake, city of Sumner, city of Fife, city of Tukwila, city of Burien, like a ton of different places as a public defender. Did a lot of trial work, and as such, felt very comfortable doing public speaking and being in court. And what I realized is, as I developed my practice into family law and personal injury as well, a lot of the personal injury attorneys don't go to court. And I started asking around, like, why don't they go to court? And I think, honestly, it's because after doing this work for a long time and just kind of doing it via sending emails and not having to go through that process, you start to accept that you can resolve these cases for maybe less than what they're worth by not doing all of the work. So if you're working with an attorney already and you've gone through this process and you didn't have to go to court, maybe that was the right decision for your case, maybe not. But what I've seen overwhelmingly is that attorneys in personal injury are scared to go to court because they don't do it enough. And when I got this background of doing public defense work where unfortunately like all the cases were going to trial because they didn't have to pay if it went to trial, family law cases where you're fighting for your kids, those cases go to trial a lot. But car accident cases didn't, and it didn't make sense to me that the ratio was so different. So as I started developing my practice and asking around and talking with insurance companies about their attorneys, and I served for a short time as a pro tem judge in the city of Kirkland, just learned a lot about the industry and realized that there are a lot of attorneys that I think phone it in. So not all attorneys are created equally. That's what I want you to take away from that. A little bit about what we're going to talk about today. There are steps that every person should take after they go through, after they're in an accident. Understanding some of the key information for your car insurance, which is so dry and they make it complicated for a reason. But there are legal rights that you might be waiving by just asking for a discount on your insurance, by trying to make it as inexpensive as possible. They make you sign away some really important legal rights. So understanding what those rights are and then being informed if you want to waive those or not. Legal protections that we have as accident victims, the failures that sometimes happen with liability decisions, and then again, how to choose the right attorney. So for those of you that don't know, I have been in, I think, 6 car accidents myself before I was even an attorney. I've been in a car accident since I've been an attorney. I think 2 car accidents now since I've been an attorney. One of the funniest ones, I was driving to Tacoma and I-5 was crazy, and I had to go through the port of Tacoma. You guys know, like northeast Tacoma, when you're like going down those hills and then you're by all the lumber yards and the waterway over there. Stopped traffic, dead stopped, 0 miles an hour. I'm just sitting, waiting patiently, probably had to use the restroom because of how you're stuck in that traffic forever. And this guy rear ends me, and he gets out of his car and he comes and he talks to me and he says, "Sorry, man, I wasn't even on my phone. I was just looking at all that wood." And I was like, what? People make all sorts of statements that are admissible, that get put into a police report, that clear up liability later. Those kinds of statements, they don't always happen, but when you make statements, those might be used against you as well. So understanding what you say to the other party during that accident when you're exchanging information. Sometimes people are not super honest and they say, we don't need to call the police, don't worry, we'll just work it out ourselves. I don't think that's always the best move. But in my book, which you guys can all have a free copy of as long as we've got enough here, I think we do, there's like 30 of you. Happy to autograph them if you want me to after this. But it goes through what you need to know when you're in a car accident, hopefully before you need to know it. Because a statement like, I wasn't even on my phone, I was just looking at all that wood. Well, maybe he thought that would help him to not be at fault for some reason. Why would you say, I wasn't even on my phone? But saying, I was just looking at all that wood proves that he wasn't looking at the road in front of him and proves he's at fault for the accident. I didn't drive in reverse into him, you know? So we made sure that was in the police report, and surprise, I got a wonderful settlement out of that car accident case. Steps to take, it's really important every single accident, even if you don't feel like you're injured, call 911. A lot of times the police are dealing with really serious stuff and they won't send an accident officer out to the scene to write a police report right then. But by calling 911 and trying to make a record, you're protecting your rights in a way that you might need to know that that happened later. What I've seen as an attorney is sometimes people say, oh, we don't need the police, it's just property damage, let's just exchange information and then we'll work it out with our insurance later. Like, let's not waste the police time. You know, that might be coming from a place of like, I've got a family member who's a police officer, they hate dealing with this, it's so much paperwork, it's just a waste of their time, they should be out catching criminals, not responding to little fender benders. The problem with that, and I'm not saying in every case, but all it takes is the one that you're in for it to be a problem, is sometimes people are in these little fender benders. They say, don't call the police. You say, okay, let's exchange information. You drive away, they stop a block later, and then they call the police and said you did a hit and run. Now your rights aren't protected because that person was dishonest and they wanted to protect themselves instead of do what was right. And by saying that it was a hit and run and they got your information, maybe they got your plate number, they don't say I got their name, I got their driver's license, they just lie about all that stuff. And they say you hit them and then you drove away, and that's all the police report is going to say. Now your insurance gets a claim against it. You find out weeks, maybe months later that this person reported to your insurance that you were at fault, and you look like you're the dishonest party, and it's very hard to overcome that. It's not impossible. We overcome it all the time at my firm, but another attorney who's maybe not really interested in working hard is going to hear that you're at fault and not even accept your case because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to overcome hard cases. They want the easy ones where there's a bunch of broken bones and the person was clearly at fault for drunk driving. Those kinds of cases are what a lot of these attorneys really want to focus on. I'll help anyone. That's my motto at my firm, okay? So if you are not at fault and the police report says you are, come talk with us. We'll get it figured out. Understanding car accident coverage. So there are a lot of different kinds of insurance. And I remember when I was an undergrad, I was like, damn, I don't know if I can afford any insurance. Like, being a student is tough. I got to choose between like paying rent or paying my car insurance. And for a while, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I drove without insurance while I was in undergrad. And you know, 1 out of 6 drivers in Washington has 0 insurance coverage right now. And if someone hit you with no insurance coverage, and you didn't have a type of coverage called UIM, which stands for uninsured motorist or underinsured, uninsured motorist coverage, if you didn't have that coverage and you had broken bones, there's no way you could recover anything. You'd be stuck with those medical bills. you'd be stuck with the property damage, and 1 out of 6 people in Washington state right now is driving with no coverage at all. The coverage that we're talking about, the coverage that's required by law, it's called liability. It covers you if you hurt someone else. It does not cover you if you're hurt by someone else. So if you hurt a third party, liability coverage, I guess it's pretty big back here. So liability coverage covers you hurting someone else, you hurting a third party. But what you need to be worried about in Washington, especially with 1 out of 6 drivers not having any coverage, is UIM, which is uninsured motorist. Now, if someone hit you and they had no coverage, but you have UIM coverage, you can still recover for your medical bills. Your insurance company will pay you for pain and suffering. You'll get your car repaired. And usually, this add-on is like $12 a month. This personal injury protection covers medical payments up to $10,000, whether you're at fault or not. And usually that's another $12, depending on how much your insurance is, how old you are, whether you're a man or not, because unfortunately men have higher insurance rates because we drive recklessly, but I don't know if that's the case, but the data says it is. So if you go to quote your insurance and you say, I just need the minimum coverage, you're thinking about price, you're thinking about your budget, you're thinking about how much money you have. That's why you guys are here, right? Like financial literacy. But I really want to warn you that the Washington State Legislature said it's mandatory for us as individuals driving on the roads in Washington to have liability coverage, which is that minimum $25,000 policy that you probably are quoting around with Geico and Safeco and whoever else. But when you get those quotes and you tell the person, I just need the least amount possible, they're going to come back to you with 2 forms. And those forms are waivers of your rights, because they have to offer you PIP by law. And they have to offer you UIM by law. And they say, I can make your bill $24 a month cheaper if you just sign these 2 forms. And they don't explain to you what those forms are. And they just tell you, it's $24 cheaper. Let's just do that. Now, instead of $124, you're at $100 a month. Doesn't that help? Yeah, it does help. But they're not going to explain to you that by law, they have to keep a signed waiver of your rights, that they offered this insurance to you and that you gave it up. So that when someone, hopefully not, but when someone gets in an accident and the person who hits them didn't have any insurance coverage, the insurance company says, look, we offered it to them. They signed on the dotted line. They didn't want it. They wanted that $12 a month discount. But $12 a month to protect yourself doesn't seem like that much money, right? There's a reason it's inexpensive. This is what you're paying for when you're paying that insurance premium, that liability policy. But don't give up rights that the law says you're required to be offered just to save $24. Because God forbid you're in some terrible accident and the person that hit you has no coverage at all and you didn't have this UIM because you were trying to save $12 a month. So I don't sell insurance. I have no benefit of talking about this in a way that gets you guys to want to review your policies and go buy it. I don't have a referral for you for a good insurance company. I think they're all terrible. But it's important to have it. And if you have someone that you have insurance with, there's a document that you can log into right now from your phone, from your computer. And you look at this document. It's called your declarations page. And your declarations page is like the cover page of your whole insurance policy. And the insurance policy is like pages and pages and pages. No one reads that until something happens. What you just need to know is, what am I paying for? What am I paying for? What's my monthly amount actually getting me in coverage? And if you want help understanding what that is, just pull up your declarations page and come talk to me after this event is over. And I'm happy to just kind of run you through what you have in a way that is plain language. An insurance company isn't going to do that. They have a financial interest in selling you more insurance or minimizing their risk. If you're a young driver and you're not going to sign up with them unless the price is as low as it can be, then they're worried about just getting you to waive away those rights. But I don't think that's in your best interests, and only you know what's best for your budget. But I just want you to understand that there's a reason that they have to have a signed document on file forever if you waive these policies. If they cannot provide a signed document, they have to give you the coverage for free. So we've had cases where the insurance company got sloppy with their paperwork. We said, prove that our client waived their right. And they couldn't. And now all that coverage that they never paid for, they got for free. So that was a really big win. But I don't want to be in those situations if I can just tell people in advance, pay for this little bit of extra coverage and protect yourself from the 1 in 6 drivers riding dirty in Tacoma. So understanding legal protection. So as an accident victim, you're entitled to compensation. I think a lot of people, they see really big, bad accidents and they think those are the people that get money for a car accident. But just because you don't have broken bones doesn't mean your body wasn't affected, doesn't mean that your work wasn't affected, doesn't mean you didn't get inconvenienced and have to miss work because of the accident. There are a lot of rights to recover money that people just don't know about. And the insurance company has no benefit in teaching people about those rights. And attorneys are usually too busy to put on seminars like this, but I just love Tacoma and I went here for undergrad. So I'm like, whatever you guys want, I'm gonna come do it. So I do these seminars, I guess once a year now, but I've been involved in some other ones as well. I just care about making sure people understand what their rights are. Maybe that's the public defender in me or something like that. But it's just so important. And so when you're in a car accident, a lot of people assume if it's minor, they minimize it. They say, no one was hurt. It's just some scrapes on my bumper. We just need to get the body damage repaired. But the last jury trial I did, there were scrapes on my guy's bumper. He was rear-ended. He started having back problems, and the other side said, well, those back problems were probably something to do with his work. That has nothing to do with the car accident. Look how small these scrapes on his bumper is. After the trial was over, that man was awarded $56,000, and the jury all agreed that he was injured because of the car accident in a way that was worth $56,000 and had nothing to do with how scratched his bumper was. How damaged your car is not an indicator of how your body was affected. And if you do x-rays and you make sure that there are nothing symptom-wise that surprise you later on, then sure, you can self-diagnose that you had no injuries. But people don't know what's going on inside their body unless they feel pain. And sometimes pain takes a while to manifest. So if it were me, and it has been, I think like 8 times now, I just go to the doctor right after the accident and I say, I don't know what I don't know. I can't see inside my spine. This is how I was sitting. I was rear-ended, I was looking left, my body twisted a bit. I don't feel anything like broken, you know, I've broken bones before. I don't feel anything catastrophic like that, but I don't know what I don't know. Now, when someone hits you, you have access to health care that you don't have to pay for. You don't have to pay for it. If you have no health insurance, if you were the guy riding dirty and didn't have any car insurance, but they hit you, doesn't matter. You still have a right to recover against their insurance for being the tortfeasor, for being the negligent party, for being the person who caused the accident. So you have no reason not to call an attorney who works on a contingency fee basis. That means you pay them nothing until they recover money for you. You pay no money to an attorney in personal injury unless they recover money for you. They get a percentage of what they get. If they get nothing for you, they get paid nothing. So attorneys are very reluctant to take risky cases because they say, well, I might work on this case for a year and get nothing. I don't want to deal with that. I don't know. We've got a lot of technology and methods that help us to parse out what really happened in an accident instead of just what other attorneys do. But we'll get into that maybe. I think it's important to understand you have access to health care in a way that you wouldn't necessarily have access. And it doesn't matter if you have health insurance. It doesn't matter if you have car insurance. If someone crashes into you, go get the health care you need. Because it's common in this industry for those healthcare providers to understand how the car accident billing process works. And you don't need to know all about it. You just need to know that they hold on to their bill until the end of the case. And if they hold on to their bill and you're not getting sent to collections and your attorney is communicating with them, and then at the end of the case, you get $56,000 from a jury and the bills get paid and the client gets money and the attorney gets paid and everyone goes home, hopefully made whole. Obviously, there are cases where someone's more injured than the insurance policy that the person had. So we can talk about filing an insurance claim. That's an important part of the process if you're doing it on your own. If you're working with a law firm, you don't have to understand how to do any of that. Filing an insurance claim usually means calling an insurance company, staying on hold, telling the adjuster what happened. My law firm does all that for you. You don't have to deal with any of that. You have to worry about making sure that you're getting the estimates for your car to be repaired. You have to make sure that you're getting the health care that you need, that now you have access to. And going through this additional process to get compensated just kind of adds another level of complexity that I think a lot of people are really excited to not have to go through. But if you do decide to go through this process and not get an attorney, that's your right. And you should document everything. Keep a good record of all of the expenses and how this accident has impacted your life. If you were late to work that day, you deserve to be compensated for the time that you missed. Because if not for this accident, you would have been at work. If you need to miss work to go to these medical appointments and you use sick pay or vacation pay or you get time off without pay, you're going to get compensated for your regular rate of pay for all the time you missed. Even if you got paid already by using your sick pay and using your vacation pay. Because you wouldn't have had to use those benefits if not for the accident. You would have still had those in your accrued vacation time bank to go to vacation like you want to do with that money. So finally, just avoid recorded statements. The insurance company always tries to get people to say some stuff that hurts their case, and they're trained to do it. Sometimes people are dishonest. I had a case where early in my career, young guy, he said, yeah, my iPhone was broken in the car accident. I bought a new iPhone, so please add that into all my damages because it was like $900 for a new iPhone. And I said, okay, we'll add it in. And we sent the insurance company pictures of his broken iPhone that he sent to us. We sent him the receipt for the new iPhone and said, you guys got to pony up this dough, $900. It's a new iPhone. That's the price of iPhones these days, you know? That's how much you got to pay us. And then they did a deposition of my client, and they said, is this the photo that you provided us for your broken phone? And he says, yes, it is. And they said, okay, and what was the date of your accident? January 2nd, 2025. Okay. You know, it's weird. We did a Google image search of that same photo, and here's the exact same photo on Google Images from 5 years before your accident. Can you explain that? And he was like, oh, well, my girlfriend she must have sent the wrong photo. That's not my fault, though. And they said, cool, well, now your offer is $0 for your entire case because we know you're dishonest. So there are ways that the insurance companies catch people in lies, but if you're being honest, you don't have anything to worry about. Just be honest. but still avoid recorded statements as much as possible. You can ask them, if I need to make a statement, I'd feel more comfortable doing it in writing. Email me the questions you want answered, and I'll spend time answering those questions in writing in response to you. And then go over those questions with people who you value their opinion that are in your life. Hey, does this sound bad if I say it like this? Because the words that we choose when we're just in regular conversation may be more casual than the words that we put in writing. And all of this is really important because they're trying to minimize how much money they pay you. And then finally, how to find the right attorney. So, there are billboards everywhere for attorneys. You might have seen one of mine around Tacoma. I think we have got some on I-5 right now. There's some other good attorneys in this area that I know and will do great work. But not all attorneys are created equally. And unless you're in this industry or you have a family member who's an attorney, how can you vet who's good and who's just good at marketing? Right? Are most of you guys business majors? Raise your hand if you're a business major here. Couple, okay, couple. Being good at marketing is a skill in and of itself. Michaela is great as part of my marketing team, but if you asked her to represent you in court, she might have a hard time, right? She knows a lot from coming to these seminars and reading my book and talking to people about what makes our firm great, but she's never had to study the rules of evidence. She's never had to cross-examine a police officer. She's never had to do the things that make what I do special. And so being good at marketing and being good at your skill set, two different things. I think a lot of attorneys spend a lot of money on marketing and they don't focus on their game. They're not in the gym practicing their trade. Maybe they're scared of that. Maybe public speaking really worries them. But I've met tons of attorneys where I said, why'd you go to law school if you don't want to be a lawyer? What was the benefit? What was the plan after graduation? I don't know, maybe working for a bank in transactions and just kind of typing stuff all day. Well, even the banks get sued, man. I don't know what to tell you. You're going to go to court eventually as an attorney. And if you're scared of game time trial, I'm going to be coming for you. And what I've realized is that some of these insurance defense attorneys who've been practicing since before I was even born are just nervous at public speaking. And their voice starts to shake. And they get like red in their neck and their face. And they just get frantic. And they drop stuff. And their shoelaces untied. And they just don't look like what you expect when we watch lawyers on TV and in movies. And you say, if that's the guy that's going to represent me, I don't know. You guys seen those lawyer memes? If your attorney's pants look like this, you're going to jail, and it's like those big, yeah. Couple people. I love lawyer memes, but a lot of that is based in truth, guys. What we see in TV and movies is not what we get in the court process. And so understanding who you're signing up with, who you're trusting to represent you, I think it needs to be a face-to-face discussion. You need to have talked to an attorney at that law firm if you can. Sometimes your family is going to help guide those decisions, and they'll say, oh, we've got a family friend who does lawyering. It must all be the same. Raise your hand if you think all lawyering is the same. All right, good. A lot of people think that they can be a great bankruptcy attorney, family law attorney, personal injury attorney, and contract lawyer, and public defender, and I'm going to tell you, I tried to do that. I was a family law attorney, a criminal defense attorney, and a personal injury attorney. What I realized very quickly is when you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none. And it's impossible to be the best at what you do if you're not focused on one thing. Just being the best just car accidents. Personal injury includes dog bites, slip and falls, medical malpractice. I don't even do those. I decided to niche down so much to say, how can I be the best car accident lawyer that the state has ever seen? And every day I'm striving to do that, not for the people around me, but for myself, because that's what I want. And if your lawyer is not showing that same kind of passion for whatever they're representing, maybe it's not a car accident, right? Maybe it's a family law case. Maybe it's a criminal defense case where you might go to jail if this person loses. Don't you want someone who's going to care about being the best at what they do? And how do you know if that person cares at all if you don't even get a chance to talk to them? A lot of these other law firms, injury law firms, non-injury, you don't even talk to the lawyer when you call the law firm. You don't talk to a lawyer. You talk to a paralegal, which is someone who might have a certification, might not. In this industry, I know many less paralegals that have ever graduated college than ones that have. So you might have more education than the person that's giving you advice. And maybe that's not important to you. Maybe experience is more important. Maybe if they've been doing this for 30 years, they know what they're talking about. But maybe not. And so I just think it's really important to find that right attorney, to go through the consultation process, to ask questions. You know, we have so many resources. People vilify AI, and whether you like it or not, it can be a helpful tool when you don't know what questions to ask, right? So if you're going through a consultation with an attorney, run it through Google, run it through an AI script and say, what are good questions to ask when I'm interviewing an attorney to represent me for XYZ? Car accident, DUI, theft case, divorce, parenting plan, whatever. But I guarantee you, it will tell you to ask, have you ever gone to trial? Because so many of these attorneys don't. And they might lie to you. They might say, oh yeah, we go to trial every day. Yeah, no problem, whatever. There's no way for you to check this. There's no online database to say, how many times has Josh Brumley been to trial in 2025? Doesn't happen. The insurance companies track that because the insurance companies know the attorneys that go to trial more often are better attorneys. And they'll go to trial and they're not scared to go to trial, and then they'll get a verdict that's bigger than what we offered in the first place. Maybe let's just offer them more money in the first place and save all the money of defending against those attorneys and make up for it with the attorneys that we know are too scared to go to trial, because that saves us money. I'll pay the Brumley law firm more money for the same kind of car accident case and pay XYZ law firm less money to make up the difference, because I know that law firm has never gone to trial, so there's no risk for us against that law firm. Because if they don't accept our offer, they're not going to file a lawsuit because they've never filed a lawsuit. They track this data, they share this data between each other because they all have a vested interest in knowing who attorneys are in every state. What ones are litigious, what ones won't back down from a fight, and what ones always back down. So I think I've captured a little bit about myself. I get really passionate about what I do. If you guys have questions about what it's like to be a lawyer, or you have questions about something specific in your life, questions about personal injury or my experience being an attorney, a judge, a business owner, like I said, I grew up right here in Tacoma. I went to UW-T for undergrad, not UW-Seattle, UW-T for all undergrad. And I had to commute to get to college, and I worked at the Fred Meyer on 72nd and Pacific Avenue as a produce guy while I was in undergrad. So I've been where you guys are, and I'm happy to share anything you'd like to know about what brought me here. So with that, we'll turn it over for questions and give you guys an opportunity. If you have any that you'd like public, I'll let you raise hands, and if not, we'll just kind of end the session and let you guys privately ask questions. Yes?
So I have two questions that came. The question is, I were in an accident and or somebody, would health insurance cover what auto insurance did?
Sometimes. but you'll never be paid from health insurance for pain and suffering. So if you didn't have car insurance, but you had health insurance, and someone hit you, and they didn't have any insurance, then you're almost out of luck. But at least your health insurance will cover helping you pay for your medical treatment. What I see, a lot of times people will have car insurance, but not health insurance, unless they get it from their work, totally paid for, something like that. But if you're in a situation like that, let's talk, because there might be ways for you to recover money separate from just having your bills covered.
The second question is it legal for an insurance adjuster to come visit me in my hospital room and give me a take it or leave it off? Because I've heard stories of them doing. Is it legal for them to pressure somebody into taking an offer?
This is a good question.
Telling them that they have only a certain amount of time.
It's gonna be off the table. Hey, I got this sweet deal, but like my boss said, I can only give it to you for 24 hours. You gotta make a decision.
My inclination is to flatly refuse to sign anything.
Good inclination.
To anybody.
Smart. I think, I think that your inclination, your knee-jerk reaction when someone is trying to pressure you into taking a deal is the right decision. Don't take that deal, because there's a reason that benefits them that they're pressuring you. You know, it's funny that the insurance industry calls personal injury attorneys ambulance chasers. Like we're just out like so hungry for cases that we're following an ambulance that's driving to the hospital from the scene of an accident, waiting to sign that person up in the hospital. I've never actually had to do that, but every single case that I've dealt with, the insurance company calls that person and says, oh my gosh, I heard you were in an accident. Are you okay? Well, hey, listen, you might not feel that bad right now, but let us just pay you $500 so you could go get a massage or something nice. I'm gonna send you a form and I'm gonna just confirm what your address is for the check. We're gonna send you $500 so you could go get a massage. You know how many times my clients have called me after the accident, after they got that immediate call from an adjuster, and say, yeah, they were really nice, but they really wanted me to sign this form to get this $500 for this massage that they were offering me for free. And I said, yeah, that form that they're asking you to sign is a release of all claims. That's the settlement document that makes you not have a case. And they're trying to get to you before you talk to an attorney, because to give you $500 on a $50,000 case saved them $49,500 by making that call as fast as possible. That's what they do. And they try to make it seem like lawyers are these bloodsuckers that are just out to profit from other people's pain. No, I'm here to make sure that your rights are protected from an insurance company that made billions and billions and billions of dollars last year to deny people's claims, to minimize the value of their injuries. And even when it's your own insurance, first-party claims, that UIM protection that I talked about, where if someone hits you and they didn't have insurance, you have to go after your own insurance. You paid a monthly premium, and then they say, oh, yeah, sorry, you're at fault for this accident, hoping that you'll just go away. And that works on a lot of people because they don't know what their rights are. So the insurance companies have no benefit in teaching you what your rights are. They just minimize these injuries, they deny the claims, and they say, sorry, thanks for paying your bill, though. It's kind of messed up, right? But that's that corporate business cutthroat mentality that's not good for people. Yeah. I think the people that call me never take that deal, but I think a lot of people do take that deal. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a practice that they still did, right? If it didn't work, they'd find something else that did. But these insurance companies have no shortage of money. They have no shortage of experts that they can use, and they'll use those experts on the cases that get litigated, and they save that money by focusing on the people who say that they weren't really injured. The police reports with minor damage, and they say, we're gonna offer you a sweet deal. Here's $500. Gosh, just go to the chiropractor and just make sure you're good. But sign here, send us the bill afterward, we'll send you a check. One chiropractic visit and one massage on the house. And they don't know that that was a $25,000 policy that they just gave away, and they have a herniated disc in their back that won't show issues for 3 months. Any other questions? Yes. There's a ton of books. I guess it depends on professional development as an attorney, you mean? There's one that I just distributed to all the attorneys in my office, but it's about corporate depositions. It's called 30B6 depositions. 30B6 depositions. 30B6 is the court rule for deposing someone who's a representative of a corporation. Have you guys ever seen, gosh, what's the name of that? Rainmaker with Matt Damon. He's like suing the insurance company who denied like a guy's cancer coverage. And they're like, sorry, he paid. Yeah, he paid, but this coverage doesn't help him. And so he's like, this is bad faith. I'm going to do a deposition of the insurance company. And just any person can't speak on behalf of a business. If I'm being deposed, I'm speaking on my own behalf. But there are court rules that say if you give advance notice to a company, you can sue Walmart. You can ask for someone who's got specialized knowledge in the training of people at that store to come represent the company. And that's called a 30B6 deposition. It's probably 800 pages. It's laid out really well, but it tells you what a corporation will try to do to slither out of liability and how to prevent that from happening. Huge professional development tool for all the attorneys at my office. Any other questions? Yes. Okay, anything that you don't want to share with the group, I'm not leaving as soon as this is over. I'm going to stay up here so that you guys can kind of have more one-on-one conversations with me out of the earshot of everyone. So I'm not running away as soon as this is over. Please feel free to just come snag me. I'll stay as long as it takes. Yes? Right. When anyone tries to pressure you into making a decision, it's probably not in your best interests. No matter what the situation. Think of like, I don't know if anyone sells cars here. I've never sold cars. I know a lot of honest car salesmen. But similar to the like ambulance chaser lawyer idea, there's this idea that every used car salesman is just so aggressive. And at one point I sold jewelry at Fred Meyer Jewelers actually while I was in school. And I think I did well because I wasn't trying to pressure people, but everyone around me was always trying to, come on, what can I do to put you into this diamond ring today? And I was like, man, if people don't want to buy a diamond ring, they're not going to buy a diamond ring no matter what you say. You just kind of sound silly. Think of that concept every time someone's trying to pressure you into making a decision. If they say there's a time frame on this, that might be the case. But if they're saying there's a time frame on this, so hurry up and make a decision right now, don't spend time understanding the risks involved or the benefits to you involved or what their BATNA is, which is a term that I learned from the negotiations class here at University of Washington, Tacoma, Milgard School of Business. The BATNA is the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. If I leave this conversation when you're trying to sell me a car, I still have all my money. I could go anywhere else and buy a car. You have to sell cars. I don't have to buy a car today. I don't have to buy a car from you, and I don't have to buy this car. I have a lot of alternatives to this agreement. So I have a better BATNA because I could just walk away. So understanding that negotiations psychology, who has the better alternative if you just walk away? I've never had an insurance company say, yeah, we offered them $500 and they said no, and now the offer's $0. the insurance company will always offer you more money. I don't want to say 100% of the time because there's nothing in the law that I'm allowed to guarantee, but I can tell you I've never had an insurance adjuster who said, all I've got is $500. That's never happened. $500 is a joke in this world. Nothing. Your scrape on your bumper costs more to repair than $500. Why would they pay for a release that prevents you from any legal recourse for less than it costs to paint the bumper of your car? Your rights are more important than that.